Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS. It's 10 out of Jake, man. I'm rocking with y'all, y'all rocking with me. For this video, I'm going to be speaking on the time I fought a GD for a GD. As crazy as that sounds. And I'm going to break it down how this actually came about. Now, if you don't know, GD is short for Gangster Disciple, which has now turned into Growth and Development. We're talking about the Folks. This is a gang that originated in Chicago and spread its way to every corner of America, including Florida. And in my experience, when it comes to whites gangbanging, what I mean by gangbanging, I don't mean home teams. I don't mean anything that has a swastika. I mean like Bloods, Crips, Folks, Vice Lords, Kings, gangs, gang banging. In my experience, I have seen way more whites that are Folks than any other gang. And that's exactly how it was when I went to the Central Florida Reception Center. There was a GD in there named Sense. Shout out to my dog. There was another, I think he was 974. He was an insane gangster disciple named Ghost. There was another insane in there from, I believe, Punta Gorda. He had, 6-point stars and all sorts of crazy tattoos on his face. He had a gruesome scar on his face. I thought he got hit in the face with a machete, but it turned out that he was actually bit by a pit bull when he was a kid and it tore his face apart. But this kid covered his face in 6-point stars, 974, just a lot of their gang symbols and things like that. So there was a pretty much all-white group of GDs. And the GDs and the Insanes, they rock together inside of Florida State Prison. Now, I've always been big on respect, and I don't hate someone the second that I meet them, and I don't inherit rap beef, which means if there's a rap group from this part of the country and they're claiming that they're killing this specific gang, I'm not going to go saying that just because I listen to his music. So when I went to prison, the options were open as far as who I'm going to become enemies with. If the gang beef isn't inherited because of what's going on in the compound, then we're not just going to immediately attack and try to annihilate another organization. So I didn't step in to CFIC immediately going after anybody. So I got to know some of these kids, and I was actually cool with a few of them. Sense was my dog. Ghost, me and him were cool. We were both on the top tier. We were neighbors. He's actually the one that shut my cell in the story I told y'all with Joe. But there was a black GD inside of the dorm with us, and he was the one that was from Tampa. He was from Claremelle, and some of the other jits from Tampa went in his cell, stole his stuff, and he didn't do anything. So the GDs didn't claim him, and he pretty much just sat there quietly until we hit something CI. Now, after we had already been there for a little bit, we started doing the TOHs. I told y'all when Tank came, Tank really started pressing TOHs for Tampa, and that kind of reflected on everyone else. So now other groups were viewing what Tampa was doing, and they're like, all right, well, we got to do some of the same things. One of those people was Sense, and he started TOHing the GDs and pressing TOHs upon them. There was one specific GD that he wanted to test, and I didn't think personally that the kid would hold it down like that, even in a one-on-one fight. So I told Sense, hey, if you're going to TOH him, let me fight him. And Sense loved the idea. He was all over. He was like, what? Okay, bet we're going to do it like this. So we set it up and we planned it. And he got all of his brothers inside of a cell. So 2 of them are up on the top bunk. Sense was by the toilet. And the kid that was going to get tested was standing up. I'm outside of the cell. The cell door is damn near cracked. It's not shut, though, completely, because then we would have to get the whole door unlocked again. But the door was unlocked, like it wasn't locked back, so we could close it without it actually being all the way shut. So I'm outside on the door, and I can hear everything going on. And, Sense is saying whatever he's saying to the kid that's going to get tested. All right, you want to rock with us? Well, this is our expectations. Are you going to rock with that? And this kid was all for it. Yeah, I'm with it. So Sense was like, all right, well, if you want to rock with the Folks, you got to fight a Blood. And that's when I opened the door, walked in, and I put my hands up, and we just popped off straight like that. Went to going at it. Now, I was under the impression I'm just going to beat the dog shit out of this kid. You know what I mean? I told Sense, I don't think he's going to last. You know what I'm saying? But he was one of those white kids that can take an ass whooping. one of the ones that really can't fight, but are too dumb to stop fighting, if that makes sense. Like, you know how some people just have too much hot, or I don't even know if it's hot, but they can just take an ass whooping to the point that you really gotta punish them, and it isn't even necessary to take it that far. But we started fighting. I rushed him. He sidestepped. I turned, and my back was towards the Foot Lockers on the floor. I leaned back and I actually tripped and busted my ass on the Foot Locker and sat down. And he tried to rush in. I grabbed him, guard up, started hitting him, and he balled up pretty quick. But it was enough that he showed he would fight back. He wasn't scared to fight. He didn't really have an option because I kind of just went in and popped off. I don't know what happened after that. I know that I just walked out and I was pumped up because at this point, I fought a couple of times inside the CFIC. And you know, I'm thinking I'm gaining some form of confidence off of this, and I have no idea that once I hit the JIT camps, it's like, we ain't even fighting like that for real. You know what I'm saying? It's going straight to raises and just that next level shit. Now, me and Sense were mad close the entire time. We were smoking in there together. We were hanging out. We would rap and freestyle inside of the cells. And Sense was the one that actually got me to spit a freestyle on the rec yard at CFIC. I didn't want to do it. He boosted my head up. I did it. And everybody that was in the circle was like, yo, he snapped, da-da-da. Other people were joining in. It was a vibe because it was a whole bunch of different gangs and home teams and cities, and everyone was just hanging out at this point. We hadn't hit Sumter. We don't have the animosity in the air. People are playing football in the rec yard, and we're just not divided by anything at this point. And it was a cool feeling because as long as we've been in here, we've somewhat adapted and we feel like we're getting used to things, and we just weren't ready for how Sumter CI was going to be. Now, when we get transferred to Sumter, we're inside of a small van. That same white GD that I had fought, he got tortured when we hit Sumter CI. So I've told y'all this story before. I'm not going to go through the whole intro of how it was. We were getting screamed at and all this madness was going on. They told me to run into a room first. I said, hell no. I told Sense to do it. He ran over there. They stopped him. They made me go in there. And the second I ran through the door, I got picked up, slammed on my back, and boots and fists were just colliding with my face. And this was the COs, the Goon Squad. They dress in all black. They give you a nice introduction and just beat the shit out of everybody. They dump out your property. They make y'all line up dick to butt, where literally your dick needs to be touching the ass in front of you. So you put your hands over your meat, and you got to put the back of your hands onto the man in front of you's ass to separate the two. And it's embarrassing, it's demeaning, but you're gonna do it. And anyone that went through Sumter CI, you lined up dick to butt. And as you're doing that, they're walking up, they're slapping people, they're hitting people in the mouth. They're really just demanding control. It ain't even about respect. They didn't want us to respect them. They wanted us to obey them. Now, when we get taken into the visitation room, that's when Sergeant AB started PTing us. And he grabbed up the white GD that I fought, grabbed him by the back of his shirt, made him start doing Iraqis, which is basically where you squat as low to the ground as you can, hands behind your head, and you bounce up and down. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 2. Well, this kid, he couldn't really do it. You know, he was tearing up. And the CO grabbed him and just started slamming him up and down off of the floor. And this kid's just crying. And pretty much everyone that's gone through something, there's usually always one kid that either pisses or shits himself, either on the van or during this process when they stop beating us and PTing us. And I've heard the stories. The COs will snap, inmate, you shitted in my van, inmate. Get on your ass about that. There's just a lot of messed up games and messed up things that they do. But none of this ended here. So we move in a C-dorm. Now the GD step to Sense. And Sense is my dog. I'm going to rock behind Sense. You know what I mean? Like, we're just like that. We cool as shit. And that's just how it is. And Sense was given a mission. And his first mission, that same GD I told y'all about that was from Tampa, that was from Claremont, where they went in his room, they stole his shit, and he didn't do anything, they told Sense to cut him. And they gave Sense a razor. Now Sense comes and tells me, and he's like, yo, bro, my brothers, they put me up on a da-da-da, this is what I gotta do. And I tell him like, yo, I'm gonna ride with you. So we're gonna try to do this shit because I know that they're judging Sense and they're testing him, and that the completion of this mission they gave him is vital to how he's going to finish his time. And at this time, he only has like months left on his bid. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't go through with it or says he doesn't want to, that razor can be turned on him. And that's the last thing I want to see, is my dog get hit up. So I tell him like, yo, tomorrow morning, let's try to get that done as we go to chow. You know what I mean? When we line up, run up on him, get him, and I got your back if he tries to crash or anything crazy like that. You know what I mean? Or I can set a distraction if there's a CO and have the CO look at me while he gets it over with. Because it only takes 2 seconds to cut him and throw the razor. That's it. You just got to hope that the person you cut doesn't chase you and start trying to fight, because then they're going to know that you did it. So we wake up that morning and everything's very tense. Every morning was tense because when we line up outside of the dorm, there's a gun tower right here. And what'll happen is he'll turn on the light and then he'll cock the gun. And you listen to this sound every single day. He turns on the light. Everyone's blinded because it's dark outside. It's 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. We go to breakfast. And then you just hear the shh or whatever he has. I think it was like an AR-15. It didn't look like the guns that they have in California, the M14s or whichever guns that they have. But you hear him cock it back. It's intimidating, and it just reminds you of how real this is. You know, we're waking up early as hell in the morning. You can just smell the early fucking hour. You know how when you wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning or 6, 7 to go to work, how just the air in the morning smells like the morning? You can tell it just doesn't smell like the afternoon. Like, I don't know. It's just a weird mixture of grass and concrete and metal from the fences that are around you. And when it's cold, it just feels so much colder because every surface around you is a cold surface. But before we even lined up outside of the dorm, we were going to try to get them on the inside. So we walk out and we have to line up in the courtyard. I see Sense sees me. I'm right by him. And we see the kid come out. And when he comes out, he puts his back against the wall so he can see the entrance to C-Dorm. And then he can see the exit to where we have to go to line up out front. When we line up out front, the gun tower's right there. He's not going to be able to cut him right there. He would have to cut him in between the gun tower and chow. And it can get tricky, but it gets done all the time. Someone will get cut and they get pushed against the fence. Everyone has to jump down on the ground, and the CO takes whoever got cut down to medical. So I'm standing with Sense, and Sense is looking, and we're just trying to peep the scene. And there really wasn't an opportunity for him to get him without crashing. It wasn't an opportunity. It was almost like the other kid knew what was going on. He knew something was on his head. So Sense wasn't able to do it. And I ended up going to confinement, I think either that day or the next day, because I got knocked off with a poker. And I didn't see Sense until he went into confinement. He was down the tier from me, and he EOS'd from confinement. And I'm kind of glad, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to hit anyone up. He didn't get hit up. He only had a short amount of time. He was able to move. He left Florida, thank God. He was there for a little piece, but he moved to another spot. And I'm going to let him tell the rest of that story when he comes onto the channel. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited because, you know what I'm saying? When you get cool with somebody in prison, you get cool with them. And you have their back, and it's genuine and it's real. And I knew a lot of different people from a lot of different organizations that were rocking behind Sense. So I can't wait to introduce him to y'all. And I was willing to ride out for that GD. He was rocking with me like I was rocking with him, and that's what it is. But hey, it's 1090 Jake. I'm rocking with y'all like y'all rocking with me. Till next time.